Hey guys, so it's time to put back the body on the frame, and in the previous video we prepared the frame, we installed the engine, we installed the transmission, changed brake hoses, etc. We also glued those rubber strips on the frame, and now the last thing that I have to do is to put the rubber pads in all the fastener locations, and then we're gonna be ready to land the body. And here comes the body. So I'm just putting it on for now, but probably I'm gonna have to lift it here and there and put shims or remove shims or whatever. So it's not permanent yet, but at least it's going where it belongs. And somebody asked me, where do I hook up my straps to lift the body? Here you can see the two straps that are at the back are hooked up at the bottom of the B-posts where the fasteners for the seat belts are. These are really secure points, and the whole weight of the body goes there. This is pretty much the center of the gravity of the body, so these two straps are taking the whole weight of the body. The third one in the front is just to balance it, because the front is a little bit heavier than the back and it tries to tip, so sometimes I support it even by hand, but here I have it hooked up with a strap, so I have my hands free. But it is really light. This third strap doesn't have any weight on it. It's just balancing it, you know. Nice and smooth landing. Okay, all holes lined up perfectly. So, as expected, of course. So, of course, in some of them we still need to put aluminum shims, some of them need rubber, the little round rubber pieces that we got. But I'm not gonna start mounting any of it before I have all the panels on. So I'm gonna install the fenders, the doors, even the bonnet and the boot lid, and then I'm gonna start fastening everything and shimming and see where everything needs to go. But unfortunately, I don't have the panels today. All the fenders and the doors are still in the paint shop, so John went to pick them up. So while John brings the panels in, I'm gonna maybe do a little bit of work on the steering so we can drive the car around, so we can push it around in the shop if we need to. And then there's something else that I need to do, like right here. You know, in the paint shop they used my jigs, the wooden ones that you can flip the body back and forth, and they were dragging the body around the shop, and they ripped the two fasteners here for the fender. So now I'm gonna have to figure out how to fix those. I think the third one over there is fine, but yeah, I'm gonna have to fix that. So I have other things to do until John comes. Okay, so the two holes are plugged and the one down there is okay. I changed the thread. So when we have the fender, we're gonna mount it, we're gonna mark where the holes are gonna be, and we're gonna use reeve nuts to make it possible to fasten the fender. Let's look at the other side. So here the two bottom holes are fine, but there is a snapped fastener in this one, so I'm gonna try to drill it out. Actually, first I'm gonna grind it flush, and then I'm gonna drill it and tap it, and hopefully it's gonna work. If not, we're gonna have to remove it and weld the plate and use reeve nuts and stuff like that. Voila! Drilled and tapped. Alright, so we have a steering column temporarily installed, and now we can start lining up the fenders and the doors and everything. John brought them yesterday. They're sitting somewhere at the back of the shop, so we're gonna start bringing them one by one and mounting them. I think I'm gonna start with the doors because they are the hardest to put. Once I put the front fenders, I'm not gonna have access to the hinges. Well, I would, but it's gonna be harder, so it's much easier to do it now. So I'll mount the two doors, and then the fenders, the bonnet, the boot lid, and we're gonna go from there. Alright, so the two fenders and the door are installed, and the gaps are they don't look good, but actually I'm pretty happy with them because I have an idea what I'm gonna do. So as you can see, this gap here is a little bit too small and it's big up there, where this one is the opposite. It's a little bit too small there and a little bit too big down there. So the idea is, like somebody would say, just turn the door a little bit, right? And this gap is gonna close, this one is gonna open, this one is gonna close, this is gonna open. Yes, but this line, the body line, is gonna disappear, which means, the fender and the door are not gonna line up. So what I have to do is I have to lift the body, I have to shim the body right here at this point, and that's gonna make the gap open up at the top. And then I'm gonna be able to shift the door forward without twisting it. Just shift it forward, and then the gap is gonna become good down there. It's gonna become huge here. When it becomes huge, then we're gonna just lift the rear end of the body, we're gonna shim it, and that's gonna close the gap at the top, and we're gonna be perfectly fine. At least that's the plan, and I hope you get the point. So I think that's the plan for this side, but I'm not gonna start doing that yet until I have the other side also mounted, the fender and everything, the fenders and the door, and I'm gonna put the bonnet and the boot lid, and then I'm gonna start aligning things. But so far I'm actually happy. It doesn't look good, but I have a plan, so it is okay. Alright, so all the panels are installed, all the fenders, bonnet, the boot lid, and on the other side as well. So it is I'm pretty happy with how everything fits. We managed with John the other day, like it's Monday today, so we were together with John on Friday, and we put everything together, and with minimal effort we brought everything pretty well and aligned. So this side I showed you already. We know what we're gonna do here. The boot lid is very well aligned, nothing to be adjusted. The gaps on this side are pretty good. I can't show you actually, but and this one looks a little bit bigger than this one, but we will see. Maybe we're gonna be able to do something here. The bonnet right now, there's no latch and there are no bumpers underneath, so it is sitting on a piece of wood over there. That's why it's a little bit higher, but fits pretty well. The most important is here. This gap and this gap are pretty good. So now I'm working on making the body sit on all the four pads, all the 4 points. Here. Actually, I don't know if you're focused now. I'm gonna give you out of focus. So I'm trying to make it sit on all 4 pads here, and here. And right now, I have it sitting on this pad and this pad here, but this one has a little gap and this one here has a little gap. So I need to pad them up a little bit, and I'll show you what my idea is. So I put some of the bolts from the bottom side up so they can hold my pads in place so they don't go anywhere. And I started removing and adding pads to make the body sit relatively even on these 4 pads, and then I'm gonna go from there with adding more and removing more wherever I need. I know that this gap we said we're gonna have to lift the rear end, or we can force this down a little bit, and that's gonna close the top gap which we wanted, and this gap in the front we wanted to open a little bit at the top, like I said before, so that's why I want more parts here. So what I did, I had a metal part that I'm gonna put here, and here I'm gonna leave a gap, because right now it is in the air, there is a gap here, so I'm not gonna add any more parts here. So when I tighten the bolts, that's gonna force this down, and probably the gap is gonna close a little bit at the top. Okay, I brought it back down, and now the situation is the following. Here we have a pretty good gap, and I will keep this gap, so when I tighten this, this is gonna push it down, and this is gonna close this gap, right? Remember, we wanted to do this. So here we have two rubber pads and a metal pad, and it is sitting on them right now. So I'm hoping that when I tighten here and at the front, this is gonna remain high, because now it's sitting on it, and that's gonna open my gap on the top. The other side, it is sitting on both pads right now. I have just enough shims, so it is sitting on them, and now we are in position where, like, I think I'm done with all the pads, so I don't need to add or remove anymore. So now I'm gonna lift the body for one last time, and I'm gonna put rubber washers in all these areas where I have mounting points, here, over there, and for here I will need shims, and I'll show you now. So for here and here I will need one of these shims. I will need one of these everywhere here, plus a rubber washer, and that's gonna fill this gap. For some reason the floor is a little bit higher than what it needs to be, but that's fine, because this won't affect the alignment, I believe, of everything else. That's gonna push the floor up and down, but it's not gonna affect these 4 points, plus the ones at the back under the boot are the ones that affect the alignment, I believe, I hope. So anyways, that's what I'm gonna try. I'm gonna lift the body one more time. I'm gonna put shims everywhere I need to put. I'm gonna put the rubber washers, and we're gonna go from there. Oh, and I forgot to mention that I still have those braces here that I haven't touched since the body was removed from the car. They're holding the body where I want it to be, and hopefully when it's mounted and I remove the braces, nothing is gonna change, but we will see. Okay, now I have shims and rubber pads everywhere, here, over there, and there, and there, and I dropped the body, and surprisingly they didn't move. They stayed where they were, so I'm good to go now. So the first thing I want to do is I want to tighten this and see if this gap is going to close. Of course, now the brace is not going to let me do anything, so now I have to remove the brace. And then we're going to start tightening here and see if this gap is going to close at the top. And hopefully this one is going to open at the top, because it's going to remain high over there. You know what I mean? So now I could remove the brace, and I just removed the rear end in case I have to weld it again or something. And then I removed the bolts from underneath. Remember, I had them run from the underneath up to hold my pads. So now I am able to remove them from underneath and put them in the right orientation from the top down. Okay, it works well so far. The top gap closed, and now the only thing is the door remained a little bit higher, right? Because it's held to the A post, and the A post is not moving, so this end remained higher. So we have to drop it down now, and that's gonna close the gap. That's gonna close the gap over there a little bit, and it's gonna give us a nice gap here. Okay, that's not a bad gap here. Now we have to work a little bit on that one, right? So we said we want to open it at the top, which means we have to tighten over there. And by over there, I mean all the way in front of the engine bay. So since the B post is already tightened and the A post is a little bit high, sitting on the rubber pad underneath, by tightening the front end, that's gonna make the gap at the A post to open a little bit at the top, right? But I was wrong. Okay, so I tightened over there in the engine bay, and that opened this gap again here, which is fine because I can still lift the rear end of the body and close this gap again. But the problem is the door is too low. I still need to close this gap here, and when I close it, the door is gonna drop even lower, and no matter how much I lift the rear end, this body line here is not gonna match. So what I have to do is I have to actually shim a little bit more here. So I'm gonna do that now. All right. So I lifted here and I put another metal plate underneath here with the two rubber. So we have two metal plates and two rubber pads here. And now this gap is perfect. I lowered the door a little bit, and now this gap only needs to be closed a little bit. So we're gonna shim a little bit the back. Let's see. See how it goes. So first of all, I'm gonna tighten here again because this is loose now. So I'm gonna tighten this. Let's see if this is gonna go. Okay, I think that's the best we can do. Now, the fender doesn't match the shape of the door, but I don't want to start grinding here. So actually this will go a little bit higher. Well, that actually helped just by tightening this body mount here. That closed the gap pretty well. So I think this side is pretty much done, because now both body mounts are tight. We have the mount in the engine bay here. There's this vertical line, you know, this bar, diagonal bar, that's mounted all the way at the front. This is mounted, so I'm just gonna tighten the bolt here, and here it is laying flat underneath, you know, there's another mount there. I'm gonna put those in, and I want to make sure that the lines are gonna stay as they are right now, which I believe it is gonna be the case. And then I'm gonna move to the other side. Alright, so all the body mounts on this side are nice and tight, and this is the best we could do with these gaps. Like, this one is perfect, I love it. This one is a little bit uneven, but it is narrow as it could be at the bottom, and it's narrow as it could be at the top. It's a little bit wider in the middle, but that's just how it is. Unfortunately, the door doesn't match perfectly the fender, but this is what we can do, you know. I can't do anything about it unless I start welding on the car, but this is not the case with this car. So this side is done. The other side was lined up pretty well, so hopefully just by putting the bolts there, tightening them, it's gonna stay in the same situation. Okay, so all the body mounts on the other side are done too. So there's one over there, there's this one over here with I have a spacer underneath, then everything inside, one there, 4 there, 3 there, and this one as well. And also there's, as you know, 2 more here and here, and all these are tight, nice and tight, and I'm really happy with this side. I can't really show you because the way the car is parked, but this is a gap that I really like. I mean, again, it's not very even, but that's out of my possibilities to make it even, because it's pretty good here and it's pretty good down there, and in the middle it's a little bit wider, but that's nothing I can do about that. And the front gap is perfect as well. So I think the body is really well sitting on the frame now, and it is permanently there. So what's left is only here. Remember where we fixed these holes, the mounting holes? Now I have to mark them, remove the fender, and put what were they called? Riv nuts. So I have to drill the holes and install riv nuts, and then the car is gonna be ready to go to the paint shop, and the customer is happy. Okay, so I marked and drilled the holes, and now my friend KJ is gonna install the riv nuts. Move to the side. Okay. Nobody's seeing anything. Okay. Okay, he installed the first one, believe it or not. We didn't see anything of it. Do it so it can be seen, actually, huh?
I can't see the numbers.
Okay. Good. What numbers? Come on. Okay, so that's our improved tool, because this one got ruined. It was a cheap one, and now we have a better one there. So the riv nuts are installed, and we are ready to go. Well, it looks like a car again. Customer is happy, taking pictures. Yeah, so the hardtop lines up pretty well at the back and the front. For some reason doesn't lay all the way down here in this area, but that's fine according to John. The window at the top, the side glass, is not going all the way up, but we'll see. Maybe we can adjust it a little bit. Maybe the windshield frame needs to go a little bit lower, but if it goes lower, still the glass will need to go lower. Maybe not. Actually, that's a good idea. Let me tighten the windshield frame down. Maybe that's gonna bring the front end of the hardtop down. Okay, we tightened the windshield frame, it went further down. The top dropped a little bit, so now we have a pretty consistent gap here. Above the window also the gap is better. It's not perfect according to me, but it is much better. So I think this is where we're gonna leave it, and now John can take it to paint, and then he's gonna bring it back and we're gonna finish it. I don't know when he's taking it to paint, but he's right here, so he can tell us.
I'm going to check and see about next week or the week after. Then we'll add 2 more years to getting it put back together.
For 150 hours.
She looks beautiful. Alright, that's it for today.
Now just buy some new rubber.
I know. I know, guys. To those of you who were yelling, the cross member, Eileen, the cross member, don't forget the cross member. Thank you. Thank you, but I didn't hear you. Now it's a little bit too late, huh? Can't we just cut it, mount it, and weld it? I'm not removing the body, I'm telling you. I'm not removing the body again. I have to figure out a way to mount it. Okay, I know it looks impossible because it just doesn't fit, right? But actually there is a way. It goes like this. It just needs to go even on both sides. And it's in. Whew. Whew. That's a relief.